Hello everyone, this is me Imran Shahzad and I welcome you all with in another episode of Deep Conversation with Imran Shahzad English Wala. I hope you all will be fine and enjoying your life. And today we have a very special and honorable guest with us. And let me tell you something about her that she has with 30 years plus in startups and dental implants. Pia Jensen is a transformative success catalyst for SMBs. Using Clifton Strength R, she turns talent into strength for executive and sales pros. So I just want to welcome to my guest. Hello, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Imran.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation and give me chance to take your interview. Ma'am, I want to request you that kindly introduce yourself so that me and my audience can get to know about you more.
Well, you did a good introduction there. So, like you said, I'm a success catalyst, and that's basically because there's transformational work. I focus on empowering the leader within. So, and leaders, many of them are sales, have a sales background, if you will, as well. So, it's all about tapping into what I call as your inner gold. And from an empowered point of view and really owning who you are, shifting your perspectives, if you will. So it's really fun stuff. It's easy, fun, and focused because you focus on people's strengths. That's my passion in life. So leadership has been, my journey with the 33 plus years that I was in entrepreneurial companies. I carried many roles, but I was often also the right hand advisor and coach, etc. So that's my passion, to just help people, guide them to feel better. And with that, when you feel better, you do better, if you will. So it becomes a win-win. um, and that's like what my passion is outside of work too. I'm constantly doing transformational work.
Yeah, that's easy and fun for you because it is your passion
Yeah.
and you really enjoy this working. That's why you find it really easy and fun. So today, let me tell to my audience that today we are going to talk about how to unleash your inner gold and what does it mean by this inner gold. So I'm just going to ask Miss Pia Jennison that what do you mean by inner gold?
So we all have what's called innate talents. So you're born with, an approach, like how you approach everything, how you create success, how you learn, how you do things. So if you're given a project, you will approach it in a unique way, but you don't think about it because it's just how you've been doing things all along. And one way of doing that, like this, finding your inner gold, is that's what I help people kind of detangle, if you will, because it is all muddled together. And you think nothing of it. You think everyone else does that. Everyone else can do that until you realize that no, your unique approach, so to speak, even if other people do similar things, it's not really the same because we all have very different perspectives. So that's basically what my coaching journey is about. And I use assessments as well, but I use assessments that are focused on your innate talents, your gold, as I call it. So it's a very empowering journey. It's all about what you have going for you. So an example of that is, you can, like, I have a talent called positivity, for instance. That's my number two. So I will always see the silver lining in things. I'm happy. I wake up happy. I'm happy. I've always been happy innately. It doesn't mean that I'm going around laughing every day, but I have a positive outlook. I see solutions where other people see problems. And then there's other people that see risk in everything. They're kind of like my opposite, right? So this process of really seeing what your inner gold is opens up so many new possibilities, because often there's always people that were like, "Ugh, I don't want to be around them. They're like a drag. But through this journey, you learn like those people, like, the person that is the opposite of me that only sees problems where I see solutions, right? Before, going through this journey, you might see that as like, I don't want to deal with them. After you see what they bring, and it becomes like gold, from both perspectives, because you really see what that can add. And if you think larger, it's about building teams where everyone is an asset and where people can do tasks, if you will, or projects that really energizes them. So it's not about like you have a position as XYZ and you can only do that. It's about, if you don't, if you're not energized, that's kind of like the gauge of this thing with the gold. Because when we're tapped into our gold, we're energized, we're in the zone, if you will. That's the state where time ceases to exist, if you will, right? Where it's so much fun, you're so engaged with it, the hours go by. And that's kind of the premise with all of this, is that spending as much time as you can in that zone. And then those activities, if you will, that really drain you, if it's in a workplace, for instance, and you can kind of trade, projects, if you will, or tasks, that's one way of solving it. Or if you have your own business or whatever, you can enroll other people to help you, because it could be people that think that that very task is super, super exciting for them. And then you create like a workplace or a class, in your case, like a school, right? You create an environment where everyone gets to shine in their own zone. So that's kind of like a longer explanation of what this, empowering the leader within, but also, accessing the inner gold. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's really a very beautiful way to address that problem. And you have said it very well that you means focus on solutions rather than problems. But majority of the people do not get success because they focus on problems. They do not focus on solution, and you help them find that focus by which they can focus on solutions. That's very wonderful. So my next question is that how did you find your inner gold?
Well, it's been a lifelong journey, I guess. And even if I had it and I was a happy person or whatever, this one assessment that I use, as I use several, but this one thing that I introduce everyone to made such a big difference, because it explained to me why I was triggered at the time. I was in a work situation where it was a toxic work environment. It was very, people were being laid off. It was just a very, volatile kind of environment at the time. And I had a lot of stuff to do. But at the time, um, I was like the connector. I was like the one talking to everyone. So I got influenced by the environment around me. And I remember taking this assessment at the time. The first time, I've taken it a couple of different times, but I got what's called my top five strengths. And when I looked at what my number one was at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like, that explains everything. Why I'm so triggered, because I had a talent that was called relator, which is all about going deep with people and creating long lasting relationships with people, authentic relationships. And here I was in an environment where people were being laid off. It was like threatening my existence, if you will, right? So that's like when I really saw that, I didn't know that. Because before I took that assessment, it was always about the education, the skills, what I'd done. I hadn't acknowledged the contribution that I was as an individual. So whether I work or not. So that's the thing that is so cool with these assessments, is that it's who you're being, who you were born to be. And then, of course, we can end up in situations where we can't fully express ourselves. So that's part of that journey of really taking back your inner power again. Like, this is who you are, whether your title is, student, or whether it is that you're the CEO. It's about being a leader of your life. So all these talents, and the unique mix that you have is just it's just a wonderful journey. So it's a quick way for people to just take back their power, if you will. I've done a lot of different things before that, so I had my power, and yet I think this work helped me kind of verbalize what it was. I had words. I've explored many other things, like I said, right? So I've explored, like I say, body, mind, soul, heart. So sure, I knew I was a contribution, but I didn't know what my deliverables were, if you will, what I was bringing to the table, what my value was. And when you get really what your value is, independent on what your title says, that's confidence on a completely different level as an individual.
Yeah, that's really great. So I'm just curious to know that you are bringing back to the to power of people. Like as I have heard that every person born with so many powers and so much potential and so many strengths. So what do you think that when do they lose their power? At what age and for what reason? And what are the causes that they lose their powers in the middle of their age? What do you think about that?
I don't think that you ever lose it, but you tone it down because you get feedback. So let's say someone that has, is a great, it has a communication skill, if you will, right? They may hear over and over again in school, shut up, you're talking too much. You know, you're talking, you're taking over the room or whatever. So you stop talking, but it's still there, and it will come out in other ways, right? And maybe becomes like too much, way back, you will explode sooner or later, so to speak, as you get into your teens, if nothing else, and later if you're allowed. But it depends on your culture. Like you and I live in very different cultures. I grew up in Sweden, where it was equality and full self-expression, and then I moved to the US, and I had to kind of find my footing there, because it was like the culture was slightly different, because the US is a blend of the entire world, if you will, right? You have people from all over the world who lives here, so depending on where you live, the environment varies a lot. People don't necessarily think about that, but the culture and the neighborhood that you live in can, influences you, right? So you can come in, like I was always very outspoken, and it was okay in the culture where I grew up. And then I came to corporate America, not so much, right? So you end up being misunderstood, and then you kind of hold yourself back. So it's not that you lose it. You never lose what you were born with. It's more like you don't think that it has any value, because people have told you that that's not okay.
Yeah, that's very wonderful point you highlighted, that we never lose our talents. They are just suppressed by the environment, by the teacher, by the parents, and so on and so forth. So my question is that how means in the US, like as you said, that there is a slightly different culture from here. So how a person can help himself to find those talents, to find those powers back?
Well, I mean, I would normally say like get a coach, even though you can take the assessments on your own as well. But what I always recommend, especially when it comes to people that are working, if you will, right? Leaders, is get a coach to help you dive deep into the report. Because, when you take this particular assessment and many of the others, you always get like a report. Feels really good to read it, but you don't get the depth of it without inquiring. It's just like, I always draw the parallel to sports, right? If you're in sports, and especially if you're a professional athlete, but even on a younger level, you have more than one coach for different things. And especially on the pro level, right? You have a mindset coach, you have, all these different things. So the thing is that, we all have our blind spots, and that's where what a coach can help you. So especially if you have a perception about yourself that this is not a valuable talent because people told you to shut up, so to speak, right? That's what a coach can help you with. And there's so many, coaches in a variety of, obviously, of modalities. So you have to find, my suggestion is find a coach. You can take the assessment on your own, or you find a coach that, coaches whatever that modality is, that helps you guide and get a little bit more depth into it. That's super important. Otherwise, it becomes like a really, it's a good feel good thing, like I said, or it's a good insight, but you don't necessarily do anything with it. Because that's what happened with me when I took it the first time and I got that wake up, like when things were like volatile at work. But there was no coaching program at the time, and I was already interested then, but nothing was offered. And several years later, I took it once or twice more because the assessment evolved. And the last time I revealed all my strengths in this case, I was just like, wow, I have to become a coach and do this, because my talents lined up, for, the way I was ranked, if you will. I was just like, it would be stupid of me not to do that. And at that time they had a course and I went on to do that. So there could be insights like that where you just see, like, you find a validation for the calling that you've always had, is kind of like, okay, this is what I was meant to do. I just never did it full on before. I always did it on the side. It was something I did throughout my life. I was always coaching, advising, consulting with people, or they came to me, so to speak, for advice. But it wasn't until that assessment and getting access to my full ranking, if you will, that I saw that, wow, I guess this is what I'm meant to do. Yeah. So you can get insights like that, or things that just validate, that what you're already doing, added elements that you can add in, or, that you're on the right path, or like the nagging feeling of like, I'm meant to do something else. It's not an aptitude test, what I do. It's more like tuning into, it's always about what energizes you. I go back to that. When you're in the zone, that's when you're tapping into not only your innate talents, like, your approach and so forth, but it's also your other talents, your skills, your education, things that you feel passionate about.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. So, can I ask you about some techniques that you share while coaching to your clients, means in this interview, so that the people who are listening and these in this interview can take benefits from your techniques, like as one or two techniques from which they could find their inner goal, or it become easy to find them to about their inner goal.
Yeah, without taking the assessment, I go back to this thing with the in the zone, because when you're energized, that is a big sign. When you're feeling drained, that's a sign that you're tapping into something that you don't necessarily have a talent on. So when it comes to talents, like if you keep putting in a lot of effort and you still only, improve minimal, that's when you're, utilizing parts of yourself where you have lesser talent, right? So you're always going to be average, versus when you're tapping into things where you're really excelling fast, you learn fast, etc., you're energized. That's when you're in your talent zone. We all have those things. If it's I think it's about asking questions, being on an inquiry yourself. When I coach, it's always asking lots of questions, like what you're doing right now, because sometimes we don't ask ourselves those questions. I mean, as I said, as simple as what energizes you, what drains you. Keep a running list on a notepad, as you go through your day. What's fun, what's not fun. That's one way of looking at it. And I think it's also like, things like, do you like to be around people? Do you not like to be around people? So it all goes into that. So it's like a constant inquiry. But sometimes it's also, that you have been taught certain things and this is the way it is, and you have a belief system that kind of conflicts with your inner belief system, right? So you have to kind of obviously follow what's culturally appropriate in the midst of it, right? I mean, I come from, and like I said, live in a country where I can express myself. But if you're in a country where it's not okay, especially as a woman, when you have to hold yourself in a different way, then you have to obviously take that into consideration, right? But have the conversations, if nothing else, with your friends, so that you can find ways to express it so that it fulfills you. Because when we don't feel good, it's because we're not utilizing talents that we have innately.
Yeah, that's a very good, wonderful technique. That if you are enjoying your work or if you are learning fast, so it means that you are utilizing your talent or you are taking back your power. And this is the area you should keep working on. So that's very wonderful. And uh, uh, as you know that it is the or it is also the means it is the world problem, like it is a global problem that people are suffering from. They lose their identity, means they have identity crisis, and they do not believe themselves. That's why they do not do too much in their lives, because they do not believe in themselves. So what message do you want to give to people who do not believe on themselves, or but they still want to get success in their lives? What message do you want to give to those people?
I would say do whatever you can to educate yourself. So whether it's going to the library and reading books, going online to just explore YouTube on an educational basis. So many of the companies that have personal growth and many of us that are coaches, we have websites, we have, YouTube, some have YouTube channels, etc., where you can find stuff for free that doesn't have to cost you anything. So you can educate yourself a lot. So just Google, if you have a computer or a phone with internet connection, whatever it is that you want to learn. So if it is, taking your power back, it could be Google taking your power back. If you know what the assessments are all about. Like if you go to my website, which is basically my name.com, mean my first and last name, um, you can see what I work with. But there's so much. So to me, it's I mean, I started out reading when I was a kid. I mean, I don't know how old I was, but I would say 7 years, if not earlier. So throughout my life, I've been an avid book reader in all kinds of areas, because I think it's important also to read books that just stimulate your mind. It doesn't have to be fact based, right? Especially if you have a lot of fact, like if you're a kid in school, you're bombarded with a lot of facts and learning. So I think it's important to, like, you're an English teacher, so read books in English, but read stories. I mean, that's like one of the best ways to tap into to your imagination while also learning the language. And a lot is available for free even there. There's books that are out of print that were published a long time ago. Like I think even Napoleon Hill, who is a person who many people quote, there's books that you can get in PDF that are free. So it's just a matter of utilizing the internet. And if you don't have that, find someone that is a wise person. There's always the wise woman, the wise man in the community, and tap into their wisdom. Ask people questions. I mean, ask people that are older than you what they've learned, what the insights that they've had in their journey. You can learn so much. I learned so much from my grandmother, who was a very wise woman. So be open, talk to people. That's like the most rewarding and the cheapest way, so to speak,
Yeah,
right? If you're on a budget.
yeah, that's very, very beautiful message. Just I really liked your message. Means use internet or watch videos, read books or talk to people. Whatever you like to do, just keep educating yourself. Whatever you have, just keep educating yourself. That's a very wonderful message. uh, do you want to talk about your website, or do you want to say the last words? Means if a person is interested on one-on-one coaching with you, how can he do online? So if you want to share that knowledge, you can, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my website is piajansson.com. I actually have a pilot program that kicks off tomorrow that is a 5-week self-study, self-paced program that I'm offering at a very special price. But I have a variety of things. So my main focus has been one-on-one. I have one-off sessions, etc. So go to my website, and if it speaks to you, just reach out. You can contact me if you're interested, and or book a call if you're interested to pursue it further. And yeah, I mean, I can also help with directions where you can go, so to speak, right? I mean, I know people all over the world, so to speak, that do similar things to what I do, if that's a better fit. So that's it. So
Okay.
thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining my interview. It's really an honor to conduct an interview with you. Thank you so much again for your precious time. And I really enjoyed this interview, and I hope my viewers, my audience will learn from this interview and will contact you about one-on-one coaching. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Imran.
You're
Have a good
welcome, ma'am. So, guys, as you have seen that this is Pia Jensen, and I am Imran Shahzad Englishwala with a very beautiful episode of Deep Conversation with Imran Shahzad. So, inshallah, we will come again with another episode with a very capable and honorable guest like Ma'am Pia Jensen. So, till then, take care of yourself and goodbye. Allah Hafiz.
क्या तुम हुनरमंद हो? क्या तुम 1 लाख रुपए महाना कमाते हो? क्या तुम 1 लाख महाना कमाना चाहते हो? मोबाइल है तुम्हारे पास? लिखो। नहीं, तुम लिखो। चैट जीपीटी। लेकिन ये चैट जीपीटी है क्या? चैट जीपीटी एक ऐसा जादुई चिराग है जिसके पास तुम्हारे हर सवाल का जवाब है। तुमने चैट जीपीटी के पास जाना है, माइक का बटन दबाकर अपना सवाल रखना है, और चैट जीपीटी तुम्हें तुम्हारी जुबान में उसका जवाब दे देगा। चैट जीपीटी, मैंने तो कर लिया, अब आपकी बारी।